Councilman Lawson is present, Vice Mayor Bell is present, Councilman Porter, Councilwoman Garner, and Councilwoman Wellman. Item 2A is a discussion of the approval of the September 13, 2005 minutes. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Ms. Garner. Any question on the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2B is a discussion and action on management contract for the city manager and the police chief. Let me state that I asked the manager to, with the attorneys, review or put this before us this evening. At the management review of the manager's position in particular, we talked about the need for a look at reorganization, and more specifically, I think the issue came up reference stability in the police department, and I felt the need to not only look at the stability in the police department, but also the stability in top management. Mr. Ivey had been our city manager since 1999. I think it's 99. Officially February 2000. Acting in 99, official in 2000. And I think some time ago in the old council, we gave our contract to management, and some of you know the history of that. With one of the former city managers, Mr. Asmar, and we kind of receded from providing contracts. But as I stated in the review of Mr. Ivey's performance, he's done an outstanding job. And I think he's deserving of some stability, knowing that in this contract, there's always a way out. We have a right to terminate this contract. He had the right to resign, and there are some stipulations in there that, you know, there's some remunerations in there as a result of if he violate any rules. I think we don't have to pay him. I think it has to do with conduct on becoming a public official. So I think the protections are in this contract for the city, and certainly protection is in there for the manager. But I think he's deserving, and I think it will send the right message to the community and certainly to the employees of the city that we support him. We think that he's doing an outstanding job, and he's deserving of the contract. And I echo the same words on the chief's behalf. As you know, he is in the drop, and he's in his final days. And again, we need to
on the job. Final days on the job.
We need to stabilize that area and just send the right message that we appreciate his leadership and what he's doing in the police department. And I think council, both these contracts will do that. And I open up for discussion.
Mayor?
Ms. Garner?
I echo your thoughts. I think this is a good commitment to them, and they're going to commit back to us. And I was really worried the chief was going to run off with his son and leave us. But I do think it provides for stability and shows them that we're committed to them, and they're doing a good job, so we're going to reward them. So I agree with you.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. Any other comments?
One comment, Mayor.
Mr. Porter?
Specifically to the chief's position, I echo the manager's position as well. He's been, we've been through some very rough times, and the manager has obviously done a yeoman's job to get us in the amount of time from where we were to where we are today, and you're to be commended for that. And to the chief's position, one of the things that has been a concern most recently is his son's outstanding performance as a Hurricane has gotten him a great opportunity as a professional athlete, and there's a lot of rumors around town that the chief is going to leave, and that is very destabilizing to the police department, because they want to make sure and know that their leader is the leader and is going to stay the leader. And this is a way to really show that the city is backing the chief and behind the chief, and it also shows the chief's willingness to stay committed to the city as well. So I would agree that it is a very well thought out vision of yours to do this, and and I'm glad to see you offer this, and I do agree it's the right time and the right place.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments? Mr. Lawson?
Thank you. Kurt, as to your contract, how does the severance provisions of your current situation compare to what's in the contract?
Well, they really kind of combine. Of course, it's a 3-year contract, and just to give a figure, if after 1 year the city wanted to look for a new manager, then I would have 2 years on my contract. Now, currently I have a 6-month severance, so that, say if, and in the contract, that severance continues. For example, if I'm 4 months away from the end of my 3-year contract, it's 3 years, 3 months. Just let me make that, because we didn't know how long this would take, so we put December, the end of December as the time frame. But say I'm 4 months from finishing my contract, and you want to replace me as manager, then I would have 4 months plus 2 months, which would always keep that sliding 6 months to, to look for employment, I guess would be the best way to say it. Did that answer where you were going on that, or?
Well, let me make sure I understand it. Right now, you're entitled to 6 months severance.
That's correct.
Under this, you would, in theory, be entitled to, if we terminated you at the end of a year, you're going to get 24 months.
The contract would be
Depending on the termination.
Which would be a very expensive proposition for a future council. I mean, well, I look at this severance and I have flashbacks to why for a long period of time management operated without contracts. It cost the city a lot of money to send somebody packing who had no business being here.
Well, I think, too, we need to play in there what the particular situation is here. February 2nd, February next year, I'll be here 6 years as a manager. So we're not bringing a new person in that you think looks good on paper, talked good in the interview, had good references, and then comes here and bombs out. And I think we can think about somebody we know that happened, and where we're.
Well, while this may, okay, I'll put it this way. While this may be a good form of contract for you because we know you, it is not, I don't feel, a good template as a positional contract. For us to hire somebody new and hand them this kind of severance provision is way beyond where it needs to be.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's situational in this case.
Yeah, I don't think I would offer this to a new person coming in that we don't know, have not proven themselves, and don't have a track record. I think this contract is saying that we have a manager that has proven himself and have an excellent track record. And as a result, we could trust him that he's not going to do anything stupid. And that his performance speaks for itself. And I think after 6 years, if he's not deserving of this contract, then we need to terminate his contract. We need to terminate his employment right now. I just think we need to say to him once and for all that you're stable enough and we trust you enough that we know you're going to work out for the next 2 or 3 years, and I have no doubt that you will. Now, after November, a new council is elected. The administration is stable. We have someone here that can guide the new council into the next term. But I think the time is now that we recognize good work and reward the manager for doing a good job.
One final question. How does the base salary set forth in here? How is that compared to where you are now?
Right now,
or can you express it as a percentage increase basis?
Well, it's over the years. The first one is the same as employees.
No. The base level that's in here, how does that compare to your base today?
It's same.
You are at that level today? Yes. Okay. I didn't think you were quite there yet. All right. Because I know, I'll acknowledge that, I guess last year we decided that we needed to go ahead and make that leap.
Yeah.
Because in the future, if and when we did have occasion to hire a new manager, we as a city would have some real sticker shock from where you were versus where the open market is. So there's no increase built in here today.
Not for today now. What is, so I want to make that clear.
Right, it's the automatic COLAs.
Everybody is, when the pay raises come in for the current, the new year. I'm in on that.
Mayor,
Ms. Garner?
I just wanted to add that if the employee is terminated for unbecoming conduct, there's no severance pay. That's correct. So if it's unbecoming, then of course they're not going to...
Well, that's a real weird standard, though. I mean, it is a political position, and the manager lives and dies by 4 votes. There's nothing personal here, but I think the severance in any circumstance under this contract is extreme. You tie the hands of a future council from acting in their political discretion and bringing in a new manager for whatever reason. That's not to say that an executive in the manager's position out in the real world shouldn't have a contract with some reasonable severance. I happen to personally think that for anybody, this severance provision is much too much.
I think
Well, I will tell you from the managers in Miami-Dade County, most of them have contracts. If Kurt Ivey was to leave here today, we would not be able to hire a manager without a contract. They will not come without some kind of protection. And it's all this is giving the manager some protections. If a new council come in, the manager should not be fired because you got new political leaders. Should be some basis by which he's terminated, not because some new politicians have come in. This city must be stable and must have a leader, a manager that's going to look out for the day-to-day operations. And whether I'm in office or not, I will fight that tooth and nail if we have any elected official that would come in and for political reasons want to terminate the manager or the chief or anybody else here. If they're doing their job, they should maintain their jobs. And that's just the way I see it. So we should not politicize these positions. And I think historically, when there's an election, they're in the midst of it for political reasons. A contract will avoid all those issues. So whomever come in, you have a management and have done a good job, got a tremendous track record. I don't see any new elected officials coming in saying, well, we want to change because we want to change. They should be able to justify that change for the people of the city of Homestead, and it should not be political. If you got a capable, competent staff, then you need to support them. And I think this contract sends that message. Mr. Porter?
No, sir, I think it was...
Oh, Ms. Garner?
I was just going to reiterate that, we know these people, we know their track record. If this was some new person, there's no way I would agree to this. It's because we know them and they've proven that they're good leaders, and we want to keep them there, so.
Ms. Wallman?
Yes, I have a question for the city attorney. Where it says, because of conduct, if in the event employee is terminated because of conduct unbecoming a public official, including but not limited to violation of Chapter 112.315 of the Florida Statutes or Miami-Dade County Code Section 2-11.1, do you know what that says, David?
What those provisions are, first, Chapter 112.3.13, that's the state ethics code with the various ethical standards that are included in there. And 2-11.1 is the county ethics code with the various ethical standards that are included in that section, such as, prohibiting things where one's personal interest is involved, those type of situations, prohibiting use of official position for personal gain or advantage of others, typical ethical type standards that are enumerated in both the county code and the state ethics code.
Well, yeah, I had checked on that earlier to read that, so I knew that was covered. But I did want you to know that I really, truly believe that Kurt Ivey's a good city manager. He pulled us out at a time when we really were in bad shape, and I think, like the mayor said, when we, as management review chair, just having talked to other cities when we were doing salary reviews and trying to find out if we were in the right category as far as our clerk, I mean, all kinds of things that we did in the management review. There's no way, I don't even think we could hire a city, I don't get any ideas, but I don't think we could hire a city manager for what we're paying you. So I give my full endorsement.
Any other comments?
A comment just occurred to me then, and y'all know where I stand on the severance portion of it. And clearly it looks like the manager is going to get a very safe and secure package. And with that, Kurt, I hope, and I understand that you spent your first 12 years here waking up every day wondering if today was the day that the other shoe was going to drop, and I know that's hard to grow out of. But with this safeguard in place, I'm going to look to you now to be comfortable and secure that you need to clean house where house needs to be cleaned in this city. There are politically protected employees at all levels that you and I talk about that need to go, and it needs to happen once you get this contract. It's almost tempting enough for me to vote for it, but I won't.
Any other comments, Vice Mayor?
Thank you. When I read the packet earlier today, it's funny, I had the same concerns about the severance package, and that was my only concern. And I really do relate to making your city manager feel comfortable and secure enough to be able to make those hard decisions, because I realize sometimes that when you are basically a political position, your hands are tied, and sometimes your hands are tied against doing the right thing. So I would echo what Councilman Losner had to say about that. I hope it does free you up to where you're so comfortable that you can make that right decision regardless. But I also have concern that we are doing this right before an election, and because what we're doing is we're setting a precedent that the future council, it may be very, very similar to what we have sitting right now, so you're here right now, but it may not. And what we're doing is we're voting on something tonight that's going to affect what's going to happen in 1 month from now. And I don't know that it was appropriate to bring this forward right now, because of the fact that you do have an election next month. Well, we're almost in October. So that was my concern. But the mayor did actually explain that the fact is, because I was going to say, why now? Why here and why now? And he specifically said, because we have an election coming and you can have a new council coming on. But I think that we have to be careful. And it's so not personal. It really is not personal. You are doing a very good job. When I've had issues with you, I've brought them right to you. I mean, you've done an excellent job, and that's not even up for discussion here. But I am concerned that this is not really appropriate because we have an election coming right now. I think the timing, rather than being right, it really is not right. And that's my concern, is with the timing of it, because you do have an election. I also think the severance package of 3 years, I mean, it's basically a 3-year package. I mean, no matter how you look at it, 6 months is very, very healthy. I thought 6 months was a lot, but 3 years, it's a lot. And that was my only concern, too, with the whole thing. I have no concern with the salary, with the COLA, with every other provision in here, the other benefits that are in here. I have no concern, but I do have concern with basically a 3-year job guarantee. But if it does ensure that it does free you up to make some of those tough choices, because I've shared some of those with you as well, that I feel like that we do have some areas that could be cleaned up a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
I'd like to move the recommendation.
You need a roll call.
I'll second.
Move by Mr. Porter, second.
Right.
This is on both.
By Ms. Garner.
Mr. Mayor, if you could just make a motion or have a motion made on each item.
I'll make a motion on the managers.
Motion on the manager by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Garner. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No.
2 noes. Employment agreement, the police chief is a motion for
I'll
approval.
make a motion for the chief as well.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Garner. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all.
Mr. Mayor, if we could, moving to the next item, we have 2 attorneys from Fort Lauderdale from the City Attorney's Office that are here on 2 items. Maybe we could move those up and they could get out of here and head back.
Thank you.
Which ones are those?
I'm sorry, that's F and H.
On the committee of the whole?
Yes, sir.
Item 2F, eminent domain resolution for new city hall site.
Yes, sir. Mayor and Council, you know that as we are moving forward for the new City Hall site, we are trying to acquire that property. We've acquired a portion of it, but we're still negotiating with the remaining property holders. And at this point, I've talked with the attorneys. I think we've done gracious plenty in trying to move this forward, and it just kind of hasn't moved with the pace that I'd like to see it move. So at this point, we're requesting your approval of a resolution that we will make offers, but we also at the same time, in making that offer, you don't take this, we're going to move toward eminent domain proceedings. So I'd let Mitch Bernstein from our office give you a rundown on how.
Any motion first?
It'd be appropriate to have a motion
So moved.
put the item on the table.
Second.
Been properly moved by Mr. Laza, second by the Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Good evening. The city manager asked me to come and prepare a proposed resolution of condemnation for 3 parcels that are going to be designated as the new city hall site. Over the span of about the past 6 months, the city manager and I have been speaking with the owners of the site and doing due diligence to find how we could acquire these parcels through negotiated conveyance in lieu of eminent domain. At any point possible, we want to acquire this through a negotiated mechanism, and we were able to do that on the largest parcel, that is units 100 and 200 of the Homestead Plaza condominium. We bought that, the city council approved that purchase subject to an existing leasehold interest. We're now negotiating with the tenant, Borges Supermarket, and that's a bit of a complicated negotiation because there's a lot of things that go into the valuation of a leasehold interest. The other half of the Homestead Plaza condominium is units 300 and 400, and recently we had a conference call with the attorney for the owner of units 300 and 400, and with any luck, we'll be presenting you with a negotiated conveyance or documents to close that through negotiated conveyance. We don't know at this point. We haven't received word back from the attorney or the owner of that property. And finally, the third parcel is owned by Roman Martinez, who the city manager is close to and has been speaking with, and I've been speaking with as well. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting in the city manager's conference room to see if we could get that parcel through negotiated conveyance as well. However, we're at the point, though, and the city manager has been very diligent about leaning on me to get these parcels under city control. I joke with him that Friday afternoon I usually get a call from him and he says, "Where are we?" And we've been sensitive to these owners. We try to get this through negotiated means. We try to avoid eminent domain if we can. However, it has been about 6 months. We had updated appraisals, and we would ask that you adopt this resolution to give us a little bit more leverage with these property owners. We may come before you and say that we need to file a petition in eminent domain. Hopefully it won't get to that point, but in terms of timing, the city manager has always told me, at least for about the last 6 months, that he wants title to these parcels in the spring of '06. And in order to assure the city council that we're going to get these parcels under city ownership by spring of '06, we probably have to start thinking about petition eminent domain now. Of course, we're going to continue to negotiate the best we can, but if we can't reach a negotiated resolution, we're probably going to have to initiate eminent domain proceedings.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. Item H is Comcast resolution, tab 7.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as you'll recall, we had, well, first of all, that Comcast is in the process of purchasing Adelphia Cable license agreement, video cable for the Dade County area, and we had done some negotiations in that regard. They have filed their notice with the FCC applying for consent to transfer this title. We've spoken, we've agreed, and represented an agreement we had. There was a few things we had wanted when this came up that we had tied to the transfer. And that all got agreed on, and we passed that at council. Now, this is a resolution approving the assignment and transfer and control of the cable license of Philadelphia. It goes through Time Warner, then Comcast. And again, the resolution calls for the assignment of this agreement to the assignment of this license.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Larsden. Any question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go back to item 2C, is the discussion and action on the Buxton Company Community ID proposal.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is the company that made the presentation on in a workshop that really what they do is an analysis of sites that we ask them to look at. We select the sites, we ask them to do an analysis through the use of their databases to prepare, to look at retailers that would be suited for the particular sites based on their databases, travel time, demographics. And they put together a list of retail businesses that they feel, based on their experience, and they've been doing this for quite some time, would work and would be successful at a certain site. And what they do, once they do that, they put a marketing analysis together of the trade area that we selected, and they match that retail to that trade area. And then with the marketing package, we go and target these retailers. They did, as we recall in the presentation, they did say that they do this a lot, so retailers, when they see that they have this kind of package and they know this kind of analysis has been done, that in itself makes retailers interested, because a lot of their legwork is done, and the fact that they feel that the retail business would be successful at that site. Now, one thing I didn't recall at the presentation, however, is in the agreement, and I'll say a couple of things in the agreement, is that they will look, we give them 3 sites, but they pick one.
Right.
So it's not 3 sites they're going to give us. So I didn't know if I was the only one a little confused on that.
Mayor? I read the same thing today, and I thought that's something that we do need to take a look at. We need to give him a phone call on that, because I understood when we had the presentation, I don't remember who here was at the presentation, because it was...
You and I and Mr. Hodge.
The 3 of us, okay. It was really interesting that the 3 of us are the ones that saw Buxton, the Buxton ID company at the Florida League of Cities conference, and we were all 3 of us very, very impressed with the presentation. And you basically seek the retailers that you desire for your community, and rather just getting a hodgepodge of whoever wants to come here, you actually go out and seek them. And through this company, and they identify the perfect retailer for your particular community, and then go to that retailer and let them know that this is a very viable and feasible place to come and set up shop. But also, I'm with you, I thought it was 3 sites as well. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because I thought, wow. So, and then it looks like it's additional funds other than that, yes?
Well, they had more money than they said, but when you get they give you a break, a 10% break,
right.
It comes down to the $63,000 that they said this would cost. What I notice is, one, we need to send the agreement to the attorney to look at before
sure.
we take the final consideration. And they just needed, one of the areas had Texas instead of Florida, so this is kind of probably their...
No, what sites in Homestead do we have available where these folks would be?
Well, we would select those, but one, we may be sitting on the one site, probably, and you would pick the one that you think the most. We have the downtown, where the retailers, where we've seen what kind of retail would work downtown, and we have what we call the Campbell Drive corridor that we talked about. That's what we talked about at the meeting. So 3 sites immediately came to mind for them to look at, and then we I guess we end up targeting one, according to them.
Yeah, I have a question.
Ms. Wellman and then the Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry. Kurt, I heard this presentation a couple years ago at the Florida League of Cities, and I remember asking a question, and the question was, what guarantees do we have that if the city did hire you, what guarantees do we have that they would find us a client? And there are no guarantees. Absolutely zero guarantees. That bothers me to spend $63,000, for a marketing plan. I mean, we could get our own marketing plan if we needed to. But that really bothered me. And I actually called them. I talked to them on the phone following up the presentation that I had heard a couple years ago. And they again told me that what they do is they go in, they just look at your city, they do a demographic, they count your rooftops, they go in and they see the average income, the average, person living in your community, and then they contact, I don't even think they told me they contacted, they give you a list of names and with a marketing plan that they can send, that we can use to send out.
Well,
is that different now?
They have a database that they go through and spending habits, ages. They also look at the retailers. We may say what we're interested in at certain retailer. They can look at that and see if our situation fits that particular retailer wanting to come here. They could tell us. It might not. It might. But
what they told me they do is that they may say, okay, the City of Homestead needs a bookstore. Hello, we all know we need a bookstore. City of Homestead needs, such and such. I don't know. I just have a real problem spending $63,000 for this. So, there.
Ms. Webb.
The Vice Mayor and Mr. Lawson.
Thank you. I had some notes from them as well. I thought that they had said this was their first time at this League of Cities event. I could be mistaken. Yeah.
It was either the Florida League of Cities or the Governor's Summit of Tourism, but I heard the presentation. The guy was from Texas. I think it was the League of Cities.
Okay. I thought that they said this was their first time. They've been endorsed by the Florida League of Cities, by the way. What they do is, and it's not just counting rooftops, because as we would typically think, oh, you're just going to count rooftops. It's not about counting rooftops. It's about going after targeting spenders, customers. It's not enough. They said most community ID projects, they just pretty much will target numbers. It's not about numbers. It's about customers. And so it's a bit of a different spin, if you will. It's not just about saying, Homestead, here's Target, Target, here's Homestead. It's not about that. It's about going and getting all of the data that would be involved in saying, this is why you will work, and this is why you will work in the City of Homestead. Not because they have 40,000 residents, but because they have 22,000 of this particular income level that work here, and this is the drive-by. In fact, it relates to drive time, it relates to demographics, drive time, age, income, and they provide all that data and all that analysis, and then they bring that to the particular customer, and then they basically facilitate that. So it's far, far, far more than just, saying, Target will work. It's far, far, far more than that, and it's more than we could ever hope to do. And I imagine that, I'm sure we can follow up and get some more conversations with them, but, I'm very reluctant and hesitant to always be, bringing on people like this. But this is one area that I think we really, really need, in particular with the site that we're sitting on right now, because if there's any site that we need to be the most guarded about, it's the site that we are on right now. We need to control what happens here. We need to control, we really need to be very much in control of what happens on this site. This is one of the most visible sites in the City of Homestead, and what goes here has to be fabulous. And so that's one of the things I'm very guarded about. And Steve or Kurt, if you'd like to share any more on it, because you heard the presentation as well.
And my take on it is not only do they do a very deep community profile, I wouldn't call them site selectors for several hundred retailers and restaurant chains. They are site identifiers.
Right.
And what intrigued me about it, and particularly from the moment I heard the presentation, I was thinking about the reuse of this site. And I think we all have in mind that we want something different and unique and more upscale on this site than anybody's ever done in Homestead. And I think that that may be money well spent for potential users to be identified that either we're going to be disappointed and find that those who have made presentations here are correct, is that all we are is a target community, or that this analysis could tell us we're a Macy's community or a Dillard's community, and it's almost as if when they identify potential users based on the criteria that we can create our own retail mix and restaurant mix on this or whatever other site. It's probably a good analysis to give us an idea of what kind of community we really are. And I think we probably really lose sight of that. I mean, unless you deal in cash only, they have information on all of us, household by household, on what we buy, how much we spend, and how often we buy it. And it may be the deep kind of community profile that not only can help compile the best possible use for this site, but be a real marketing tool otherwise to those who look at Homestead as something far less than what it really is today. And I hope we can go ahead and authorize up to $70,000 and get moving on this.
Just one comment I want to make. If we start focusing in on this site, I'll throw this out for consideration, we're probably 2 years away.
Oh, right.
From moving off this site. Now, will something change in 2 years? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out for consideration. If it's this site that you're...
But he did share with us it takes the national retailers 2 years to approve, acquire, design, and be ready to do the turnkey at a site. So that 2-year time frame is probably not fatal to this study.
Mr. Porter, then the Vice Mayor.
I didn't have the luxury of being able to see the presentation. Is all they deal with retail? Was it just retail?
It was retail.
Restaurant retail.
Commercial? Because I know we've got a lot of...
All the above.
We've got a lot of what you would consider industrial type properties out there too that would be... The thing that...
Industrial.
When we talk about service jobs or the big box retailers, the job creation is very small on the high-end scale of the spectrum, and it's very heavy on the low-end scale. Trying to create a job base a little bit more upscale job base, and I think it's probably going to be hopefully a better opportunity in our industrial areas. And I'd like to be able to see that if we're going to market in addition to just retail, and I'm saying big box, using it as kind of a bad word. When you talk about 600 jobs at Walmart is 25 jobs with benefits and 575 without. And that's not necessarily a good job creator, although it's a good economic engine for job creation numbers-wise. But
Well, that's a good point, but I did not hear in their presentation that they did like industrial.
It did industrial. It was like restaurants, it was all types of retail, including food establishments.
What about hotel, motel? No?
May have been.
Retail.
Just retail?
Just retail.
Yeah, they put in their proposal retail and restaurants, but I think hotels would have fit into that, as I recall.
3 years ago it didn't. A couple of years ago it didn't.
Maybe wrong.
The other point is, currently we fund agencies similar to with Vision Council, for instance, and they don't market specifically, or they don't look at specifically for the city, inside the city limits. It's kind of a regional type of thing, and it would be nice to have something, but it would be nice to have something that would also include the valuable property that we have in industrial. Not downplaying this, certainly not downplaying this, and I'd like to see us be able to attract those businesses that could go into those industrial areas that would give you more likely benefits, job benefits than you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and move this resolution forward, and then we can...
We're not comfortable with the current demographics and the projected demographics of Homestead, that all these retailers will be coming to Homestead without someone giving us demographic data that we probably already know. I'm just saying now, wouldn't the market drive these retails to Homestead? No. So somebody been at the workshop, explain to me what, you understand what I'm trying to say? Just let the market take care of itself instead of us. Steve?
If I might, and again, realizing that he was making a pitch to obtain a contract. And I think Kurt has seen this, and Charles O'Brad used to share this with me. And he made the point that retailers may click on Homestead, and we never know we've been looked at. And the information that's typically online is either very stale and incomplete. And again, this guy's trying to generate a contract. It's a very deep and different kind of analysis. It's far beyond what a cursory look at. He explained that you wouldn't believe that some of these big name retailers and restaurants will rely upon going online, and whatever's there they rely on and move on to the next site. So I keep coming back to that it's the depth and the level of analysis that's done, that's spit back out for us to distribute, is far more than the glance that everybody else would get without this assistance. Is that a fair assessment, Mr. Hodge and Vice Mayor Bell?
Well, and not only that, and again, I apologize for being late, but just to give you an idea, basically what they do is the data, again, that like Steve said, that they look at online is old data. It's not today's data. And if there was, although there is a market for Homestead now, perceivably, and that market is usually is generated and created due to the developer's interest of going out and soliciting to be part of their development. What Buxton does is they come in and they renew the data, and then they compare that data, and the data that we're looking at is much more intense and extensive than the number of rooftops that we have in our city limits. It goes more beyond that. And what is normally sold is how many people or what the density is in the area. And basically what they do is every time you use your credit card, there's a database that's created about you. And they accumulate that data, and they have terabytes of data, which is thousands and thousands of megabytes. I mean, it's huge. And what they do is they take that data, and they can actually update that data just by an individual using a public record of an individual moving from Kendall to Homestead. It may take under normal circumstances years for that person to be recognized as a Homestead resident, where they can take the shopping data where they went and bought a TV for last Christmas and match that data from where public records where they purchased a house at Homestead and say, okay, that customer no longer lives in Kendall, they now live at Homestead. So now they can say, now this person, this individual purchased purchased a television Christmas, they're bound to purchase another one this Christmas, and they can take that type of data and marry it up with Circuit City and say, Circuit City, we have 50,000, well, we don't have 50,000 residents yet, but for example, we have 50,000 of your customers around in the area of the city of Homestead. You need to put a Circuit City there, so you'll be able to service them. And this is the type of data that they pull up. It's not just data saying that there's people there and you need to go there. It's more intense on who is buying, how they're buying, what they're buying, and how often do they buy it. And they can encompass that data, and then they use drive times. In other words, they say, okay, in this site, your customers can get there in 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and they package that. And when they package that and compare that with the retailers that are out there, they bring that information to us, and from that, we can choose the top 10 or 20 that we would like to see here in Homestead, and then they will give us a package that we can then take to them, and then when we're taking that information to them, we're not taking the information, we're not taking just information to say, come to Homestead. We're taking them data that they would normally have on their own to be able to open up their new stores. And basically this information will match what they've already been doing. And at this point in time, we're saying, okay, we got information to prove that you will have a successful store in Homestead. Take a look at us. And the information, again, the data that they have is so intense, it gives them all the information that the research that they would do and beyond, that proves without a shadow of a doubt that they would have a successful store here. So what this does is it gives us the ability to choose, and it goes beyond the big box. Yes, it's retail, but it gives us the ability to choose, again, who's coming, the type of retail that we're going to have in the community. The industrial side of it, and I heard that mentioned, is another function. This particular company don't do that, but we do have some things in place that we are working on to maybe not do exactly the similar, but to address that issue, and that will be coming forward as time prevails itself. But right now, I felt like this would be an opportune time to do this, since the fact we do have commercial property that is available now, and the commercial developments are opening itself up now. So I thought this would be a perfect time to do this, and this was really my whole purpose when I got the flyer. This was my whole purpose of going to the conference in Orlando, was to meet with these people, because this is the type of things that I wanted to see Homestead do. And even with the community development department, these are the type of things is to get the right marketing and be able to bring in the right type of businesses, so we can grow Homestead into, if we want it to be a Pembroke Pine, we can be a Pembroke Pine if that's what we want, or if we want to be a Coral Gables, we can be that if that's what we want. But we're choosing our destiny and not letting our destiny choose us. And really, I probably said a million words there, but but that's kind of the idea
How
behind
do we
it.
sell this to the private landowners that own most of the commercial parcels?
Well,
Now, how do you feel? Because take the example of my business. We went out and did our market analysis, traffic analysis, and determined that the locations we have was appropriate and it would benefit us. We could make a profit as a result of it. We could sustain ourselves for a long period of time. So in a sense, this proposal here, we're providing them with this market research, and we're paying for it for private development.
not necessarily. What we're doing, we choose 3 sites, and ideally we would want to choose 3 sites that was more convenient to us. Number 1 site we were thinking about was this site here, our current City Hall site, which is in our control. Number 2 site we was considering our downtown area, and number 3 is...
Which we own a big
Camel
piece
Drive,
of.
the Camel Drive corner.
Yeah,
Camel Drive.
exactly. So those are the sites that we were looking at. I was hoping to, in the future, if this go forward, to get with Mike. I know Mike have a monthly meeting with our developers, and they can then piggyback on this contract and pay the additional cost, which will be less than what they're paying anyways for the analysis, and do the same thing in their sites, and just kind of go along with what we got in place. And I think he said it'd be like an additional $10,000 or $15,000 or something like that per site. So if there's a commercial site that's being developed right now for a private developer, then we can have them they can pay that additional cost to the company, and at that point, he would do the same research on his particular site. So that would give them the incentive of, number one, using this company, and it gives us as a city the opportunity to have say-so of the retailers that is coming into the community, and give the developer an incentive to use them, because of course it's going to, I can almost guarantee it'll cost him less to do the same research that he's probably already doing anyway to get his developers done. So we're not really necessarily trying to do the work of the developer. We're just trying to create the destination of where we want Homestead to end up.
Freshman?
Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, you couldn't be at the presentation, and it was a shame because we brought him here, and it was the three of us who saw him in Orlando that showed up at the presentation. And I think maybe if you would have seen, maybe he's explaining it a lot better than I am, or we are, although Norman, you did an excellent job. You even used Circuit City because that was his example. It's not just about site selection. I mean, I think that's very, very oversimplified. It is about doing the deep internal work that we're not going to do, and that goes far beyond what a normal retailer even does. And I think that Norman hit on it. But information, when a retailer goes and seeks that information, very often the information is stale. It's just stale information, at least 2 years old. This is really, really up-to-date information, very accurate information based on addresses, based on buying patterns, based on drive time, as Norman said. Let's just say if they do this study and they said, we noticed that you have 6,000 people per day that drive down Campbell Drive on their way headed west. You have 6,000 people. That would be the perfect place for a Starbucks. And I'm just saying that, or this would be the perfect place because of the drive time for this. Then they do all the demographic studies. It's not just people, and this is what I liked about Buxton. It's not just about counting people, because that's too much what retailers and these companies always say, you've got X amount of bodies. It has nothing to do with bodies. It has to do with people who are customers. It's not just the rooftops, it's actually the customers and their spending habits. So they analyze and study the customers and their spending habits, and then they go and they match the retailer with the city. And they also go and then they tell the retailer, you would be perfect in this city. Whereas if that retailer did his own studies, Barnes & Nobles might say, there's no way Homestead is ready for Barnes & Nobles. But they might go and say, listen, you need to be here. You absolutely need to be here. We've done the study. You've got this many people here, and this is their income, this is their buying pattern. We noticed with the zip code study that there's a bunch of Homestead people that are going to Barnes & Nobles in the falls or wherever, and they bring all that information together, and then they match the city with the retailer. It's something that's just not being done pretty much by anybody else. So I don't want to overstate it, but I certainly don't want to simplify it. And if you hadn't seen the presentation, we would want to tend to simplify it. But I think the questions are very good and they're very, very valid.
Yeah, because I know from my business we did a comprehensive market analysis, and what I'm hearing is that we're saying, well, you no longer have to spend your money to do the analysis, we're going to do it for you.
Yeah, and that sounds like a reasonable statement for you to make, except for it goes way beyond just a simple market analysis. And Norm said it very, very well. It's that the city of Homestead, rather than just having people dump into the city and say, we're coming and we're bringing this, we can say, this is what we want, and come here.
But I can still come, whether you want to.
And I like to, right, I got to be at the wheel, Mayor. I like being at the wheel.
Mr. Ford.
In the analysis, do we get all the analysis, or do we just get the names of the businesses that would be appropriate here? Because if we had all of that information and say it said it pointed to Barnes & Noble, if we had all that data, it might also point to 3 others, or 4 others, or 5 others. Because I know you have numerous occasions where people call you looking for something as well. Do you know if that, would we get all the information or just the names of the business?
They would give you a package, and they say in here there's a map of potential customers for the retailer, a retail match report that you'll get, that compares the site's trade area characteristics with the retailer's similar existing locations. Because say if you wanted a Barnes & Noble, they would go look at other Barnes & Nobles and see what's going on there and the characteristics of that. They do a demographic and psychographic analysis of the trade area, which we get copies of. And
Kurt, what I'm trying to say, most major businesses do that on their own.
Correct.
They do the traffic analysis and the demographics, and they do the analysis of households and the average income of households and all. Maybe this is a lot more involved, but they pay for all of that. I mean, they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to do these market analysis all the time. So I'm saying, are we now, what we're saying is we're going to provide this for these retailers to take a look at, that they already probably have in their database, probably not as extensive, but enough to determine whether they want to set up a shop here at Homestead. That's all I'm saying.
Can I?
Yeah.
To answer your question and Jeff's question in one, the data that we received, they have it where they post it on a site for us, but I let him know that we host our own site, and he said they could get us the data so we can actually post it on our own website. And basically, in the sense where businesses do go out and do a lot of their own research, we are in a sense doing the research for them. But the reason we're doing that is because the data that the research that they may be doing and getting right now may says no to their standard planning, where we're actually doing the data and creating that information right now. So when they look at it, they'll say yes today instead of waiting 10 years down the road to say yes, and there may be no place for them. So we're basically, in a sense, we're putting Homestead on the map, and when they do look at Homestead, and we have this information available on our website, and they go to cityofhomestead.com because they may hear about these things, and then they go and do the normal research right now because of the new influx of community and people that are here, and the type of consumers that are here now may not be recorded right now, so they wouldn't know that. But by us creating this information and having this available for them, when they go to cityofhomestead.com, and they can say, oh, here's some information that's pretty much already done for me, let me look through it, and they look through it. Oh, okay, let's look at this a little bit closer. So basically that's what we're doing. Yes, we are doing the information, the research ahead of time, but we're doing it because we want to be able to create that environment now that may not happen for another 5 to 10 years, maybe the next census, before this information is available. So what we're doing is making it available to them now. So at this point, we can again choose the destiny of our retail and commercial.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question? Can I go after her?
I didn't think it was going to take this long for this one.
I just want to ask a couple of questions. Where would this money come from the budget?
Again, we're trying to work it where we can get it out of this year's budget, but we've been discussing that strategy rather as opposed to next year. And Elena, would you want to explain that process again? We talked about a lot of ways of doing it.
In the event that this was approved, we would have to actually issue a PO in this fiscal year in order to be able to roll that PO over to the next fiscal year with a budget and purchase this service. The city manager's contingency has funds available. It would be up to your discretion if you approve it that way.
It also says that there's a 10% discount, which the 10% discount brings it down to the $63,000. But it says here that it says that this does not include travel associated with the presentation or negotiation of this agreement. So do we pay for them to come down here already, or how? I'm just going to ask you point by point.
What that part means is that there's no charge for this travel. The only travel that they'll charge for is for
future work that they do. And that would be subject to, we'll put a provision that limits that to the state law standard on reimbursement of authorized travel.
Because it says it only includes travel costs incurred by Buxton at the request of the City of Homestead, such as for community presentation, or workshop following completion of the project. So,
right, so it only covers their presentation. In other words, they're not charging for travel they've already done or travel to negotiate this agreement. What they charge for is travel that they incur at the request of the city for presentations or for workshops following completion.
And I'm confused about something else. It says, for additional copies of a retailer marketing package or reference binder, a fee of $200 will apply. And then it goes on to say that additional research services, post-analysis, requested retail match analysis for specific retailer, $1,000 per retailer, and then 2 copies is $1,500 per retailer.
Those are services beyond the basic service. If you want to get those additional services or more copies, then
how many copies does this include? I mean, what
they give us. They give us the, I guess, a package per, as I understand this now, a package per business, a marketing package, listing the businesses that they feel would be successful in that particular trade area that they identify or that they're working on. And I just want to say, and it slipped my mind when we were talking about it, trying to get this done for this budget year, Friday it's over. We have a special call we've asked for 8:30, and that's what that's about.
And Norman, you came in a little bit late, but it says in here that it's 1 site, not 3 sites.
Well, yes, it was originally when we talked about it was 3 sites, and possibly 4 if we chose them, but it should be 3.
Thank you.
We're good with that.
Ms. Garner?
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't get to see the presentation either, so when I was reading this, I wasn't really impressed. I was thinking, do we need this? Now that we have rooftops coming, we know that we're getting other things, like the movie theater is only here because we got rooftops. That whole plaza is going to have retail. All the way down Campbell Drive, developers are bringing retail. Why don't we tell them what we would like to see? Why don't, if we want a bookstore, why don't we tell them, hey, we'd really like to see a bookstore. You think on one of these several developments you have, we could put a bookstore. I'm not really sure about this. When you guys talk about the City Hall site, yes, it's very important to what we do, but I don't know that this is going to be helpful to us 2 years from now. I'm just not completely sold on it. If it had industrial included in it, then I would think it was good for us, but retail, a lot of it's already coming.
Well, the only thing I can respond to that in relationship to Buxton would be that if you wanted the bookstore, you go to that developer and say, listen, here's the marketing package. The information shows that a bookstore would be successful here, and here's the evidence of that. I think that's how you would use it in that case, I think.
I mean,
anybody else has a different idea on that, but I think that's what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Charles was here, I would sit with him, and he could just call somebody and get them interested in coming here. So,
my only concern is if we're taking on these businesses, the dollars they spend annually for marketing research is just unbelievable. And Barnes and Noble's not going to come, and I'm sure they've looked at us and they got some research information about Homestead, and eventually will come here. But I don't know whether we should spend money for that, but let them do their own research. What we could provide is, we got the numbers and information they need from us, we can provide it, but let them spend the money to do their own research. And I think we're taking that responsibility away from them and say, well, we'll do the research to entice you to come. I don't think you need to do that. They want to do their own, they got their own numbers. And that's the way I look at it, but maybe, like I said, I wasn't at the presentation, but I'm not convinced that we need to spend $63,000 to do additional research for these folks that got billions of dollars. And they got research department is unbelievable. And that's all I'm saying.
Question, Mayor. Just one stupid question. The information gets compiled by this company. Where does it go from there? Do they take the information and go solicit Starbucks? Do they hand you, the city manager, the information, you go solicit Starbucks?
They do.
Do they go to...
They do.
They take the information and go solicit and bring those potential customers, clients, whatever, back to that located site or as a potential opportunity. And then we would get to keep that information as well for any future opportunities that we might have. If they're only doing one site, we could take some of that data to the second site or the third site or the fourth site.
Well, they say trade areas. Now, our sites may be close enough to that information may apply to here. It might apply to downtown. I don't know where the camp. But once it's identified, they do their...
It'd be interesting for me, Kurt, to know that we had the information, that you had that information in your hands. Instead of just them compiling it, them going out and trying to select, because you guys get the ones that are calling all the time asking for, can we come to Homestead, where can we go, all that kind of stuff. It'd just be neat to have that kind of information at your disposal.
Well, I think an ancillary benefit, just along the lines that you're talking about, where we would have at least that information available. Now, if they took a site maybe out off of 137, there might be a different different scenario there, but we would have information that we know about buying habits in and around Homestead, I think, and then they have that subscription, which is a little extra, if you're optional, subscription deal you go on, and
You don't have to do that.
have that available.
Thank you. All right, let's call a question on this. We've debated.
I don't think I made a motion.
Do you have a motion? A motion by the Vice Mayor, second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hart. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. How many noes? Raise your hand. 3 noes. It moves forward.
I want to know
Can I get a copy of the presentation?
over there.
Jeff Porter.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mr. Manager, if they have a PowerPoint or something that they gave you guys when you came here, if you could get that to me, I just want more information.
I think I can get you something.
Same here.
All right. Let's do some tough stuff. 2D, Investment Advisory Agreement, tab 3.
Gosh, we're only on 3.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we are requesting here, or recommending that enter into an agreement with Uniwealth Advisors Incorporated to direct the strategic cash management or investments for the city, and that's consistent with we have an investment policy, and basically what we have, and we have a very restrictive policy because it's public money, so you're very restrictive of how you and what you can put your investments in. You just can't go out on the stock market and do anything you need to do. It's very controlled. What happens, though, there are a lot of products that come into finance about where, here's a product for investment, and it's government type investments, and actually the finance doesn't really have the time and in some cases the expertise and all of that to determine whether this is a good thing to go for, or to change our money around and put it in that or not. So we have someone overlooking our investments, and this company was the low bidder of the 2 that put in. All of them are qualified, have the licenses to do that. It's a local company as well, and that was one of the important things to us, that we could get them down here quickly without having to have them fly in or something of that nature. We recommend doing this. We think that we can improve our investment revenue by having this watch. Now, these investors can't do anything on their own. They come in and make these recommendations, and then from there we make the investments. And I don't know, Elena, do you have anything to add to that, since you guys are doing it now?
I just want to add, it's more basically a time situation than it is an expertise situation. Because of what Kurt explained, our investment policy pretty much dictates what we can invest in the monies, the public monies that the city has. Ever since we implemented the pooled cash, and we took all the cash that was in all the different accounts and put them together in the one account, basically it's one fund in our general ledger. And what we do is we have several operating accounts, but we do have several investment accounts as well. We have been able to, in the short period of time that we've taken it on in the finance department, double the interest revenue of last year. Last year's interest revenue was $600,000. To date, last month, it was $1.2 million. And basically, what we were doing is just very simple investing because of the lack of time, given the budget cycle, the audit cycle, projects such as the bond rating that we take on, plus all the regular work of producing payroll and accounts payable and so on. So we don't really feel that we need a company that has a lot of experience. We just need a company that's hungry, that's dedicated, that will come and sit with us once a month, and that we can say to them, these are the financial needs that we have for liquid cash, and this is the money that we can invest in a 2-year period. This is the money that we can invest in a 6-month period, for example, and that they will go out. And we have a lot of companies that are calling, that are sending us email, that are sending us product information in the mail, and a lot of the times I just have to toss it. I don't have the time to really delve into it. The GFOA, for example, has a product that we've made an appointment to sit with them, but we've had to cancel it over and over again because we just haven't had the time, where you bid, and it's a process where the actual investors bid on your money. You say, I have $10 million available, and it's available to invest in this period of time. And then the investors actually bid on the highest rate for you to invest in their product. And it's online based, and it's GFOA sponsored, very safe, endorsed by the GFOA. We don't have the time to sit down, learn how to use it, and take full advantage of it. So this person would really be assisting us in that way, but they in and of themselves would not be making any decisions. The decisions would always lie with us. And of course, by meeting with them, we would ask a lot of questions and feel comfortable in everything that's being done. Everything has to be done as per the policy. But again, it's somebody that's going to be looking out for the timing, and someone who's going to sit with us every month, and it'll be standardized. I think this would be good for the city, regardless of who's in the finance department, because similar to the relationship that the city now has with Dick Montalbano, who has been a financial advisor for many years, or Jerry Chioca as a CPA, that regardless of the changes in the finance department, you have a relationship, and you develop a certain amount of trust after year of having this company working for the city. But in essence, if we're not happy with their performance, we don't have to continue the contract.
Mayor, I'll move this.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any other comments?
Question.
Mr. Porter?
Are you fine with it, Mayor?
Yes. It's very necessary. I was just thinking, as you were talking, you don't think you need somebody permanently internally to deal with this?
No, I think we really can do it with this service. I mean, if we find otherwise that we can't, but I'm fairly confident that we don't need to hire an additional person and incur that kind of a cost for this. We can do it with the service.
Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor, you will see a resolution accompanying this at the council.
What's the next item? I lost my page.
Auditing service, item 5. Auditing services.
Auditing service.
Auditing services contract, Wacom Phone and Hoops, tab B. Tab 4.
Sorry about that.
Well, most of you know we have an outstanding relationship with Jerry Chioca and that whole team that have just been outstanding for the city of Homestead. So I would highly recommend that we approve this contract.
Jerry who?
I'll move it, Mayor.
Sure, ain't it?
Yes, sir. I'm kidding.
Just wanted you to say it again.
The move by Ms. Wallman, second by Mr. Porter. Any additional questions?
Mr. Mayor, I just make a comment. This is a one-year extension. Their RFP was up. We will probably RFP next year, but just as a matter of process, they've done very well with us. We've got a good working relationship with them, but just as a matter of process, we probably need, after 4 years especially, to have an RFP.
Yeah. Question?
Don't we have to change after a certain period of time? Don't we have to change companies?
If I can answer that, under the latest version of the statute, it created certain additional restrictions. However, it still allows a certain leeway for renewals to be authorized. So we would not be mandated to have a RFP, but that's something that would be a policy decision for the council. This proposed engagement letter, again, carries forward the city's option to renew for an additional term.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add, on the copy you had in you should have a second copy outside we just did a little wordsmithing that we saw at the agenda briefing that we wanted to change. On page 6, it dealt with the money, and they used on the third paragraph estimated. We didn't want estimated. We wanted that finite amount there, so.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 2G is the opposition to federal resolution, tab 6. Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Wallman. And we are urging Congress to oppose federal legislation that eliminates the local franchising process, and to recognize City Clerk to forward this resolution to the Florida Congressional Delegation, other members of Congress, and the National League of Cities. Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 3A is the bid for school crossing guard services, extension number 2, tab 8.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a statement here? 8 through 16 will be extensions of existing contracts.
Okay.
Because of September 30th. And in the existing contracts, there are provisions for extension 1. Some have extension 2.
Thank you. On the school crossing guard, is there a motion for approval? Mr. Porter, you all right with this?
Yes, sir. I hate to pay it.
Moved by Mr. Porter, is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Hart. Any questions on the school guard services? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 2B, tab 9 is the towing services extension. Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Porter.
One comment.
Comment, Mr. Porter?
We need to send somebody down there to get him to clean his lot up.
His junkyard?
We can help you over there, right, Rick?
Okay. Well, just, the point is, a lot of times, and it gets better, and then it gets worse, and then it gets better, and then it gets worse, but sometimes you go down there and First Avenue or Second Avenue, what it is just a disaster. So he does work for us, and just ask him to do his part to clean up, keep the neighborhood straight.
Mr. Porter, can I ask you a question too, since you're knowledgeable in this? One day I was riding by there, and he was actually using the whole street.
That's the point.
But he was using it for his business. He had cars parked there. And I went by the next day, and they were still there. So.
Well, he has a good working relationship with the police department, and does a great job for them when they have accidents and cleanups and stuff like that. But at the same time, there are occasions when I think he overextends himself in the neighborhood, and we went as far as to vacate the road to give him the ability to block up and clean up his area. And I think just as a common courtesy, just speak to him about it. Okay. That was all. And we will continuously look at that. I'll get the code enforcement people to please.
That's what I was going to say. Mr. Stocks, when we ride around, we often go by there, and he has told him more than one time.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any further comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Infill lot maintenance extension, tab 10.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hodge, is there a second?
No, second.
Second by Mr. Lodman.
Mr.
Question on the property lawn maintenance.
Yes. I want to know what's included in this, because I know Mr. Stotts and I ride around every month, and there are a lot of infill lots. I know some of them are city-owned, that code enforcement's with us. They tell us, oh, that's city property. And we get complaints a lot. And I don't know if it's the company that's doing it, or if it's a communication problem between the getting to the company. But, with those complaints and looking at it, there's a lot of other vendors, and I don't see a original bid tabulation. So, second extension, maybe we want to let them know we're not real happy with them.
Mayor, members of council, this is actually to maintain lots for the CRA for Rick. Now, Rick, you want to further elaborate for that, how you identify the lots and properties?
Once we acquire them, we add them to the contract, or when we dispose of one, we take it off of the contract. I'm not going to excuse Tropics. Sometimes they get caught like everybody else does with the rain, and they just can't get it all done, or the rain makes the grass grow faster than they can get out there and cut it. They're supposed to maintain our lots on an every 2-week basis. Sometimes it doesn't happen that often. And there are occasions we've had to call them and get on them because things are not being properly done, adequately cut quick enough. There was one occasion when actually they had some new folks and they cut the lot next door and didn't cut our lot. So, that's the kind of things you go through in that kind of business. We do have our issues with them, but by and large they do a pretty good job. And when we point an issue out to them, they get out and correct it. One of the bigger issues with Tropics seems to be areas where there need to be cutting easements and rights of way, more so than the maintenance of a city-owned or CRA-owned lot. You can ride through Pioneer Commerce Park and see places where the grass hasn't been cut on an easement in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. It's got to be that long from the height of it. And many times that's a bigger issue than had they cut the lots in Pioneer Village Phase 2, or some of the infill lots that the CRA owns, or some of the lots that the city owns here or there. And those are the kinds of things we're constantly addressing with them, particularly the easements and right-of-way.
I don't think we should have to be addressing these issues, and I've ridden around with Mr. Stotts for over a year, and it has not improved. So I would have rather seen another bid put out.
We also put out recommendations to the departments and asked that their performance as far as that goes. So we basically took the recommendations from the departments. It is your discretion if you feel that you want to rebid it. That's why it does come up for the initial 2-year term, and then at that point it's your discretion if you want to go ahead and rebid it. That is council's discretion as far as that.
Mayor, I have a question if Ms. Gardner's finished. I'm finished. How do they bill us? Do they bill us per cutting? Is it contractual? I mean, do we just assume they mowed every 2 weeks, or do you have to send somebody out there and check it? Because I agree with Ms. Gardner, and I've not been happy.
I want to differentiate the cutting of a lot that is a specific assignment to them, and the general cutting of right-of-ways and easements and other city property. Because I don't deal with the rights-of-ways and easements and other city properties. But on the CRA-owned lots and on the city-owned lots within the CRA, they've done a reasonable job. Yeah, they've gotten behind when the rain's been heavy, or when the rain's gotten ahead of them because the grass grew so much. The main problem that we've had with them in those instances has been the FEC lots near downtown, simply because they're so big, and many times they would get it half cut and the rain would start. I really can't speak to the responsibility for the easements and the right-of-ways, because that's not really a CR. We're not in charge of that. We don't watch that. But we do go out and review that the lots are being cut, that they're supposed to be cutting under the CRA and for the city, particularly within the CRA, because we're in the CRA area all the time. and we know which lots we own, and if one of them is getting a little high, we'll get on the phone and call Tropics right then. I mean, it's not a, let's send them a letter, it's a get on the phone and the lot needs to be cut.
I guess what I'm trying to get at, Rick, is if the rain does get ahead of them and they do have to work on a Saturday or even a Sunday afternoon or whatever, are they billing us for overtime? And I mean, how do we address that?
We get billed per lot. In other words, per lot. And the cost per lot may vary depending upon the size of the lot.
Okay.
But we're not getting billed extra because they had to go out on a Saturday or a Sunday or that to cut it, or because the grass really got high because of the rain got ahead of them.
Mayor, if I could just say something, and Kirk
Karen
manages the other side of that contract there, other than CRA.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to clarify the issue of Tropics' responsibilities. They are not responsible for the maintenance of city-owned lots, nor most of the easements in the Park of Commerce area, just the main roadways. Traditionally, over the years, individual property owners have been maintaining the easements along with their property. When we do discover that those are the individual property owners are not maintaining it, we pick it up under inmate services. And those are stretched very thin with all the things we ask of the inmate services. But we do maintain it, perhaps not on the frequency equal to Tropics, but we do maintain it through inmate services. But I don't want to see Tropics unfairly blamed for something that's not their responsibility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Tropics maintains all of the city easements, all in the streets, the roadways and everything.
All of the major roadways, and naturally they don't do every roadway in the city.
Right, but you can see the trucks up their time, because what I've seen them do without the occasional lot, I think they do a fabulous job. I mean, for the most part, I have really been very pleased with what I've seen, especially, in our city limits in between US 1 and, all the roads. I think they look beautiful. So if you were experiencing a problem with them, you would let us know, and you would basically say, let's look for somebody else.
Exactly.
Right?
They currently maintain all the park properties, City Hall, customer service, all our parks, major roadways. They do an extremely good job for us. There are minor problems that come up during the year, we bring it to their attention, and they correct it immediately. So we're very happy with their services.
Thank you.
Any other comments? There's a motion, Madam Clerk. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Item 3B is purchase, inspection, and maintenance of fire extinguishers.
I'll move it.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilman Hodge. Any question on the extension of the maintenance of fire extinguishers? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 3E is pump and electric motor repair, extension number 1, tab 12.
I'll move this, Mayor.
Moved by Councilman Roma. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2F is uniform rentals, purchase and related items.
I'll move it,
Tab 13, moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Question?
Mayor, we didn't have any local vendors to bid? Nobody was interested? I know we have a couple places that Logos and Lumo all do. I don't know if they do this one.
Ms. Gardner, members of council, this actually is not really like you would get. They actually take the services, they clean the shirts, they provide them, they repair any stitching or anything like that, like the crews and stuff. There's also garments like for the electric guys that are Nomex and other material that aren't really carried by that kind of a vendor. It's really more of a dry cleaning / uniform service as well.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pest control and extermination?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Hodge, second. Second by Mr. Porter. Question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Street resurfacing, tab 15. Is there a motion? Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Give me a second, Mr. Hodge. Question?
Comment. I was amazed when I was looking at this, the difference between the bids between H&R and Redland. It was amazing from right on down the line. I mean, from 55 a ton to 175 a ton. I mean, it was amazing. So either one was really high or one was really low. I'm not really sure, but that was such an amazing glaring contrast in prices. So obviously HR is the appropriate choice.
Mr. Porter, this is just resurfacing, right? It doesn't have anything to do with cuts and... I wish we could get somebody when they do the cuts to mill. When you do a cross cut, I wish we could get somebody to mill the road before they fill it in, because that seems to be the biggest problem. That's another issue.
For another day.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Landscape maintenance, tab 16.
I'll move it.
Motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Hodge. Question?
One question. How close was the last, and I think I asked, was it relatively close the last time we put this out? Do you remember?
This was the first extension.
Not even close as far as, are you talking about price comparison? No, it wasn't even close. I don't have the exact number, but it was, I think Kirk could probably have that recollection of it.
If I recall, the second lowest bidder was more than double the cost, yes. And close to $1 million more than the low bid.
Mayor, when we have a first extension, can you provide us with the last year's bids, tabulations? Because looking at it, you know, we don't have who bid last year to compare it to, so next time we have a first extension, can you give us that?
Absolutely.
Because when I looked at it, that sounded like $760,000 is awful lot, but if the next bid was $500,000 more, it doesn't sound so bad.
We actually do by matter of course, but on the large bulk of extensions, we didn't do that this time as far as procedure, so I do apologize for that. If you'd like to see that, we can add that on when it goes to the council's agenda.
Thank you.
We'll put those in there for you.
Thank you.
Should we also consider, when you're talking about extension, instead of waiting a couple of weeks before the contract expires, give us some time so that we decide to put it out for bid? It will still, and I know you probably got in the contract saying that they will continue providing service until...
Yeah, 120 days. We usually, even if we were going to the end of the contract, we have another 120 days that we could actually bid it out if you so choose that we wanted to go ahead. So we've given ourselves a buffer on that as well. But we will take that forward. We tried to get them, usually you'll see them in June or maybe July. We've been quite busy this year with other things, and we've been trying to catch up, so we've, at the last minute, actually bulked these together. So.
Another question, Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Garner?
Does this include the items from tab number 9? The infill lot maintenance, is this all part of the same thing?
No, actually, this is...
It's the same company.
This is,
Can
yes.
you encourage them to be a little more responsive?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other quick discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 3J is the purchase of concrete poles, tab 17.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is in regards to our substation projects, and we are requesting approval, and it's our recommendation that the bid be awarded to Valmont Newmark for purchasing these concrete poles. The award bid will be contingent upon approval from EDA because a portion of the money, $303,000, it's a $407,359 purchase. $303,916 will come from the EDA $1 million grant that we got, so we have to have approval from them before it actually is authorized for us to spend their money. But we'll also have from our project account $103,443 to make up the difference.
Thank you, Mr. Any other comments?
Question, Mayor.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes. Exactly what, these poles are right in down Lucy.
Yeah, these are the big concrete poles that weigh about, I forget what they said.
They're gonna run on the Forest City side?
Kurt, if you want to compare the volume, they actually, if you go down 6th Avenue, you would see those transmission line poles, those huge, you can't even get your arms around them as far as they're massive sized poles. They're several thousands of pounds, so, and this actually includes their transportation to come here, so that's on an additional cost as well.
Well, I'm thinking in light of the Southwest Master Plan, of course, in just along the edge of it, you're going to have big, huge concrete poles if there's no alternative to...
It would be feasible to do underground for that? A lot more expensive to do underground. Go ahead.
We looked at this, Mr. Laszlo, but for transmission lines, high voltage transmission lines, it's cost prohibitive.
Is there a different type of pole or maybe a decorative concrete pole? Just keeping it, just trying to keep in line and you know what we're trying to do to the community, you know, and this really kind of goes against the grain, so to speak, and it would be a shame to spend all those thousands of dollars doing the master plan and then putting in millions of dollars into the plan to redevelop the community, and you're landscaping it with concrete poles. So I think we need to...
It's hard to fight that. It's very hard to fight that. It's a tough one. Yeah.
Anything else? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 4.
I'm sorry, Mayor, who made the motion?
I did.
You made the motion?
Sure.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Garner.
She made the second.
And the last one, Mr. Porter said, move forward, Department of Justice grant to encourage arrest and resolution. Another grant in the amount of $206,598.
No match.
No matching required.
That's the best.
Very good grant. Is the motion for approval? Moved by Mr. Porter, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wallman. Question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Losman, any business for the committee of the whole?
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hart?
No, sir, not this time, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
We'll pass.
Mr. Porter?
I saw concrete poles going up at the intersection in front of BJ's for the light soon to come.
Very good. Ms. Garner?
No business, Mayor, thank you.
Ms. Wallman?
No, thank you.
None from me. Mr. Manager, any business?
No, sir.
Mr. Walpin from the City Attorney's Office, any business?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Weiss wanted me to let you know that we provided to Marcy and the Finance Department collections that our law firm was involved with for the hurricane relief effort, and each of the staff members in the firm, secretaries, receptionists, attorneys, all contributed, and the law firm itself then matched that, which then is sent to the City of Homestead. I understand you also have a match arrangement yourself, so Mr. Weiss would have been here himself for that, but he was tied up at this time.
Yeah, and I just want to comment, Southgate Cares, the group that Mayor Wallace and I co-chairing for this effort. At some point, we're going to make a public announcement, and we're going to arrange it. I'd like for all of you all to be there. I think it'd be very important. And the committee that we put together a couple of weeks ago. So, Marcy, we don't have a date yet for that, but money's still coming in, and I'm very impressed with what's going on. I hope we can get 100,000, and that's my personal goal, to try and get 100,000 to send to the Katrina victims, and we may be very close. So, but it'll be good and nice for all of us to be there, saying Homestead Cares. So we're going to arrange it that everybody's there. I'm hoping that we could do that, and I think we will. So be on the alert. You'll be contacted soon. Anything else? Thank you all so very much. Meeting is adjourned.
Do we take public comment?